Hello everyone! Today is the release date of Wave 2 of the VFX Sandbox, but first I'm going to do a quick overview of what's new and what changed, so let's get started. First thematic approach, it's a light effect. So there's going to be a lot of chromatic aberration effect, but also classic golden yellow, tarnish yellow. So I've explored some different beam setups, Niagara only again. Later this year, after the wave is released, I'm going to cover the blueprint parts for all the VFX in the sandbox and show further implementation. And talking about these beams, I've also updated the fire beams from the previous wave. I've worked on multiple instances of burst energy variation, from an upward projectile to some kind of buff level up. I've explored two ways to make mesh-based shield and sprite-based shield visual. I digged a bit more onto the research side. So if you remember the previous video I made on arrays to explain how you can use them to move particles around, I reused this technique to make a setup where you could follow a particle to its target location, so it could be used as like a quest marker or like a quest helper. It's a very chill effect. On the other hand, I also experimented with some shaders for chromatic aberration and also some sort of like glass prism. I used the first example in the HLSL video from November. It's also available in the sandbox. Next, I also worked on a quick lens flare composition, so you can use that as like a channeling effect or change the timing a bit and use it just for like a frame or two. Another example that we already saw in the HLSL video, the code rays. It's a wall space orientation based code rays, so you can put multiple of them in the same scene and they will all target the same location. It can be quite handy for like environment work, for example. Then this camera bokeh effect that you can attach wherever there's fire or some sort of like additional lighting elements. It can amplify the effect of your camera. If you remember, the effect we also did in the HLSL video is similar to the base setup I've made previously. Next, I made this UI effect to also illustrate how you can have this like type of light effects in your 3D UI or even inside your 2D UI. Next, there's this distance field effect. So that is very interesting. I saw it on a video on YouTube. I just reproduced the effect there. It's the kind of effect you can see in some games where there's a point of interest and like there's some sort of like absorption effect on the ground. That's it for the light effect. Next up we have the explosion category. It's one of the most common VFX. There's always an explosion in a game or like some kind of burst. Yet there's so many ways and style to make them. So I inspired myself from different sources. There's this implosion bomb, for example. It's inspired from Path of Exile. There are this very stylized cloud explosion, for example. So here, this one is based on like a mesh and refraction vector. The other two are based on like sprites and like dissolve with like a fire layer and a smoke layer. I also experimented on a module to create a sequenced explosion. So the first one chains the rest of the explosion with an additional ribbon ID link setup. I've also worked on these very classic nuke effects. There's already a lot of examples online, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this one. I also went on this slightly more realistic effects experiment. I tried to go a bit more realistic without using simulations. It's just sprites painted in Photoshop with splatter brush. I'm aware you can go even more realistic with simulations, so that's why I'm going to cover this later. I just need more time to calibrate, as I'm going to share a complete setup when I'm done with it. I believe what people are most interested in is not really the VFX by itself, but the whole process and some specific setups. And that's it for the explosion category. And like any other category, any effect will potentially be updated visually, as when I add new textures or change shaders, it makes things look better over time. I'm not spending all my time working on it, just a couple of hours per day. I try to be efficient and deliver functional VFX in the first place, because we can always make things better. It's just a matter on how much resources I spend on them individually. And for the last category, liquids, we have some classic splash effects of different kinds. I also spent some time on shaders with screen effects and droplets. There are some HLSL custom shaders for this example, with like the trail droplets on the screen. Some setup with the rain effect, basically. It's very simple, nothing dynamic. Some actual water effect, like a waterfall, a wave, or some sort of whirlpool. Now for these three specifically, I'm emphasizing the fact that your noise texture are going to drive the visual more than anything. I'm definitely going to update this waterfall. It's not the best example. There's already so many examples on this one. I didn't want to spend more than an hour on this. Next up, there's this parallax shader that can be helpful for liquid shaders. Just like the light example, I've also worked on some water shields. Now that we have a base, it's easier to make new ones and repeat them over and over on different thematics. I've also spent a tiny amount of time trying out simulation on Liquigen. Later on, I'm going to see if I can add a proper setup for vertex animation texture and mesh flipbooks when I update the simulation part of the sandbox. I can't tell you a date yet, but it's going to come probably before Wave 3. And that's it for Wave 2. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough of this update. I will see you in the upcoming videos, which are right now popping out on the screen. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. If you have any requests, just let me know so I can address them. Also, big thanks to all the people who gave feedbacks and also pointed out bugs earlier this year. It's very much appreciated. I have a lot of exciting projects to develop later this year around the sandbox, but I keep it at it for the moment. It's going to come around next fall 2026. Alright, that's it. See you around and take care.